Good morning, it's Craig here. It's Monday, the 8th of April, and I was going to say I'm back again, which is true, but it doesn't have to be dramatic. It's just that I am back recording again to say a little bit of an update on where I'm at, and perhaps I'm faltering a bit because it's a big update of sorts, just in terms of a complete restructuring of the novel after being exposed to a new idea over the weekend and then having the time to write about it and think about it on train rides and walks in another city, that I've come up with a really interesting idea that I really like, and I've completely mapped out the novel in a way that is reusing everything that I've written, but structuring it in a way that's more explicitly paced. It's structured in a very particular way that is moving away from what I was wanting to do before, which is have interweaving segments where you're here and then you're there, and then it's all moving like rapid fire scenes being shown. I do like that aesthetic, but I think it's something that I almost need to grow out of in a way that it's such a teenage pleasure of that sort of imagery constantly coming in, that there is another way to write, and that way to write is what I'm trying to do now, which is more measured and structured in such a way that scene follows scene in a very understandable way, and in a way that I feel is compressing information in a really good way, in a way that I was trying to fix because I felt like I was being very languid in what I was writing. I was really stretching things out to much more in terms of the time it would take to read what I wanted to say. It was just too long and too overwritten. And so I was trying to fix that by cutting it up into little bits and interweaving it with other bits. And now I realise that there's actually just more concise ways of saying things that can be said in a lovely way that is structured here and then the following section here, without having to weave, because the weaving is very confusing, and it just lets me say things that I need to say quicker. And I'm really, in one way, I've compressed an entire novel into one section of this new way of framing the book, which feels wonderful, and I look forward to doing it and seeing how it comes out when it's written, and has given me the space to be able to say and do other things, which is really cool. If I were to write, and I feel like I've said this before, I know I have, but honestly, if I were to finish the version of this as it's just been mapped out, I'd be very happy. I also think, just on one level, it's actually probably the most marketable version of the book so far. It's less experimental, while not submitting anything. It's still everything that I want it to be, and it is experimental for what it is, but it's not so out of touch with, I think, most ways of comprehending the text, certainly for anyone outside of me who hasn't actually written it. I think it's going to be actually very pleasurable and very enjoyable, which is probably the best feeling of all of this, is to have come up with a version of the novel that I think, you know what, I think someone else who's not me may be able to read this and really enjoy it. So, and while not, like I said, not giving up on anything, but while enjoying everything that I want to say, but we'll see, because I know the perfect version of the novel exists in my head at the moment, and that will change as we go on, but I'm committed to what I've done. I've just started writing the prose for the new structure of the book this morning, which is reusing prose that I've previously written. It's good. Maybe one of the things that I'm realising is that, it's funny, I was very concerned about word counts when I started the first version of this book and subsequent versions of this book, and I'd say I want it to be 10,000 words, and then it'd end up being 30,000 words for a particular section. Now I'm aiming for, I think, 6,000 words for this opening section, and it may only get to 3,000 words. And maybe that's perfect. If that's all that it takes to say what it needs to be said, then that's great. And maybe that's just a complete farce to think that it will actually be 3,000 words. It may end up being 8,000, because I'll get into a space where it becomes bigger. It just will be what it will be, and I will edit and rewrite and rethink and do all the things I'm doing now, as long as I finish it. So that's my update for the morning. I hope you have a good day, and all being well, I'll be back here tomorrow. So I will see you then.